Hello and welcome to cricketnews.com's IPL 2020 coverage, and in this video we'll be talking about the Capitals from Delhi. Now this team has been in a transition period in the last couple of years. They've had a change in ownership as well, and while they followed the process and tried to lay down their foundation, the effects are now visible. Delhi finished at the number 3 spot in the 2019 IPL, and I think that was one of their finest finishes as a team so far, spearheaded by Ricky Ponting, Shreyas Iyer, a young captain there, and also a very nice little team that's building. Take a look into the squad, and you know what I mean with that. I mean, when you look at the squad, you'll realize that the options for Delhi are so many, and in particular, the options in the Indian contingent are by far second to none in the league. You look at batsmen, you look at all-rounders as well, and you look at bowlers, both spin bowling options and fast bowlers. Delhi have a galore of options available for them on the bench, and that allows them room to maneuver and play around with as the tournament progresses. Now, the very interesting thing for Delhi Capitals is that you could actually play an all-India 11 with this team. If you look at the top batting lineup, the top 4, top 5 batting lineup, you look at Dhawan and Shaw opening the batting, maybe Rahane there, you have Shreyas Iyer at 4, you have Rishabh Pant at 5, so that's a top 5 which is full Indian, and I don't think there are many other teams in the league that can actually go on to do that, and I think that could be a real positive for Delhi Capitals. But however, there might be many others who might be saying that their foreign contingent isn't the strongest. I know the numbers are fewer, but I think they still have picked up some fantastic foreign signings. They're not your experienced foreign contingent, but the foreign contingent are young players who could really add value to the Delhi Capitals. You look at Shimron Hetmyer, who's grown brilliantly in the last year and a half. You look at Alex Carey again, who's an established international wicketkeeper. You look at Stoinis again, who's this hard-hitting batsman, can bowl as well. You have Kimo Paul. There are several other options that I'm missing out at the moment, but these foreign players could prove to be very important plugs in the gap points for the Delhi Capitals. Let's take a look at what could be a probable 11 for DC into this season. I think I'd open with Dhawan and Prithvi Shaw there. No two ways that I'm going to switch in for any other opening combination. I think these two are set. They've played one season already together, and I think they'll do justice again this year. Ajinkya Rahane could be played at 3. Now there are two scenarios. There's one scenario where you play Ajinkya Rahane, where Rahane plays at 3, Shreyas plays at 4, and then the batting order drops and you remove one of the middle order foreign players. But if you don't go with Rahane, then you play Shreyas Iyer at 3, you play Rishabh Pant at 4, you give him that role at 4 where he can come in and finish games, do what he does best, and also thereby progress in his pursuit for Team India. You have Shimron Hetmyer then who can come in at 5. Marcus Stoinis is an option there as well. You have Alex Carey, remember, who's been absolutely brilliant for Australia, has scored runs in the Australia versus England series, so he comes in. And I think Kimo Paul is also an option there after Alex Carey or Marcus Stoinis. So that's your batting sorted almost till number 7, number 8 or so. Then of course you're followed by Ashwin, who I think will be a given in this team. He's come in from Kings 11 Punjab as a senior player, and I think finger spinners will play a big role in this IPL as you go forward. Amit Mishra, of course, you're one of your all-time IPL greats. But if Mishra doesn't perform, then there's Sandeep Lamichhane waiting. For me, I think Lamichhane makes the team regardless. But I think Amit Mishra will get the go-ahead, maybe initially, or maybe they would play both of them, you never know. And then to finish the team off, you have Rabada and Nishant. So I think it's a very well-rounded side. It's got about 7 to 8 established India international players who will go in and play into the team, which you don't get with a lot of franchisees. And if you look around the league, apart from Chennai and Mumbai, there is no other team that has its spine sorted in the form of Indian players. So Delhi does have that advantage at the moment with players who understand the conditions, who can play spin very well and can adapt to conditions in the UAE. I think the big talking point for me will be the Ricky Ponting Shreyas Iyer relationship and how they manage these senior players. I'm sure when Ajinkya Rahane signed for DC, when Ashwin signed, they expected game time. But how do you manage these senior players? How do you manage Dhawan? How do you manage Ashwin? How do you manage Rahane? Will be the question. But I think all in all, a very strong team. Just like KKR, I think DC are one of the strongest teams on paper this IPL.